On this episode, we have the legendary Tom Ferry, and he talks about systems. He talks about the makeup of the people who are going to make it in the future of real estate. We've seen a lot of dips, we've seen a lot of different markets, and we've seen a lot of reasons to fail, yet some realtors and vendors are able to make it no matter what's happening around them. What is the makeup? What is the common traits of these people? He's got a stack of books on his desk. If you get to see the video, but the audio, we go through his favorite books and why he loves them, and essentially the growth patterns that you see people taking when everything else around them is chaos, and yet they still seem to thrive. Enjoy the episode. Before we bring on Tom, it is race week. Memorial Day is coming up upon us. I am from Indianapolis, so naturally I have to talk about the Indy 500. A few years ago, I was on my way to an Indy 500 party. Now, you have to understand, the diehards in Indy go because it's usually blacked out unless they sell out. The sellout crowd this year means they've lifted the ban, and anyone in Indianapolis and surrounding areas can actually watch the race. It's very exciting because it's a big pool day party on Memorial Day weekend for the Indy 500. I was on my way to a party a few years back, and it was a very hot day. And I was driving with the top down, and I called my buddy and it's like, do you need me to pick up anything? Hoping he didn't say yes, because I just wanted to get there, but naturally they needed ice. So I said, okay, I'll stop and get the ice. Now I get out, I go and I buy the bag of ice. I put the ice next to me on the seat. And on my way to the car, I saw a single ice cube that was melting extremely fast on the pavement. I don't know why it caught my eye or why I was thinking about it, but I didn't think much of it, but I just got in the car. But as I was driving, I was looking at the bag of ice, and I was just thinking about how fast that single ice cube was melting on the pavement. And I looked at the bag of ice next to me, and I was like, I wonder why I feel comfortable driving with the top down and not worried about this ice melting on the way. And it was because of all the other ice. And it hit me. I was like, people are like ice. If one single ice cube is, on the pavement, melting under the pressure, the reason why the other ice cubes aren't melting is because when you're in a community that you all have one common goal, it's much harder to melt under the pressure. You're with people who act, think, and are like you. And when you're on a webinar like this, and when you're digesting the information about real estate right now, I don't know if it's just me. It feels like there's a lot more drama in the last 18 months in the real estate world than ever before. And I want you to think about, as you're taking notes and as you're watching the discussion between myself and Tom, about what does this mean for you? Is there hope for you in this industry? Is this the right industry for you? Are you ready for the next stage? Are you getting prepared? Are you equipped? Tom is one of the most renowned real estate coaches of all time, and his business keeps on growing. In a market where a lot of acquisitions are happening, a lot of businesses are crumbling or closing, Tom continues to grow. Not only is he growing, but the people he's coaching are growing. Welcome to the call, Mr. Tom Ferry.
Thank you, Remington. Appreciate it. Nice to see Bobby out there, and very pumped about the event we're doing. I didn't know you also hired one of my close friends, Rory Vaden, to speak.
Yeah.
I use his product. Like, I've hired them to redo parts of my brand, which I'm sure we'll get into today. So anyway, super excited to be here, man.
That's great. Brand builders, Rory Vaden's on day 2. Big fan of Rory Vaden.
Yeah.
Tom, I'm excited to talk to you about all the things. Am I wrong, or does it feel like there's a lot more negativity, at least publicly, in the world of real estate?
So I'm celebrating 35 years in, and I was just with my pops, who was celebrating 55 decades in. Remington, I would tell you that no, it's not more. It's not more. I got started in 1988. Right after the stock market crashed. I bought my first house in 1989. No one told me that was a bad idea. Paid $155,000, and within about, 6 months, it was worth maybe $100,000. So if you've been doing this for long enough, we're going through cycles. There's always another cycle. Things go up, things go flat, things go down. Like, we're just in another one. But yeah, like if you're paying attention to Inman and a lot of the news sites, they want clicks. They want sensational. Which broker is sleeping with which broker? Is CCP going to make it or is it not going to make it? Should Tracy Tudor be wearing that dress or not?
Yeah, that's the one I got this morning.
My response is, who cares? The only thing that matters, survey your past clients in Sphere. Find out how they're feeling about the market. And if you focus on how people feel about their homes, the decisions they're making, the things that they're concerned about, then you're doing what all the best people do, which is they don't really pay attention to all that stuff. They just focus on how are my clients doing? And am I treating my prospects the right way? And am I running a smart business? I mean, the noise is just the noise. Does that make sense?
It does. You transitioned well into one of my first questions for you. After coaching, I mean, how many coaching clients? I know you know the number. How many clients have you coached in your programs?
Well, okay. First of all, Matt Delhoun, who's like a really good buddy of mine from St. Louis. I tell him just pop up there. God, okay. How many total people have I coached? I actually don't know that number, but I know I have now spoken in about 29 countries around the world. I've got products in I think 8 or 9 languages. I've been in every state in the U.S., every province in Canada. I've been all over Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, Europe. And I think my personal client list, probably a lot of my clients stay with me forever. I don't know, probably sub 700.
Yeah.
If I include like some like, hey, you and I work on this for like 6 or 7 months. But, I was just texting with one of my clients yesterday who I've personally coached 27 years. She's one of the top agents in La Jolla, California. She sells 55 to 60 homes a year, average sales price, $3.5 million. But Remington, she just turned 87. Wow. And then I also coach, Gino Buffari, who's the CEO, now chairman emeritus of Home Services, Aaron Kerman in Beverly Hills, a couple of $1 million listing. Like, I've been very blessed.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the question, but I've been very blessed to work with a lot of really great people.
So here's my question, knowing the numbers, knowing that in your programs have reached thousands, tens of thousands, including live events like the one we're doing in September.
Yes.
What is the makeup of top agents that through the years? What are the common traits that you find that regardless of what's going on in the media, or regardless of what's going on with the headlines, what are the common traits that you see in top agents?
Okay, well, what's interesting is forget the number of people that I've coached. I've been fortunate to do about 75,000 hours of private coaching sessions. So, this morning with Paul Rushforth, the number 1 team in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, the market's down by 7%. He's up 14%. Doug Edrington yesterday, who runs a Berkshire Hathaway brokerage as a team in Chattanooga yesterday. This week, I'll talk to another 15 or 20. I would say that there's 6 things. And what I would ask maybe for the person listening out there, listen through the filter of, again, when you talk to as many people as I talk to, and you travel the world where I've been blessed to travel, and you hire great coaches as I have, Rory Vaden being one of them, Dr. Julie Gerner, and all these other people I've been blessed to know, there's 6 things. The first thing is, very simply, there's a difference between have to sell houses and want to sell houses. What we see now, and I know you and Bobby were talking about this before, last year, of the 1.5 million agents in the U.S., 965,362 agents did not have a listing that they took and sold last year. So what we're seeing is this extreme, like whether it's 80-20, 90-10, I mean, I could probably give you the exact number. It's like 145,000 agents essentially controlled the listing side of the market. And you and I both know consumers have choices today. When it comes to buyer agency, I'll go to Zillow, I'll go to Redfin, I'll go to Realtor. I'll work with my next door neighbor, Bill, because he's a nice guy and he's going to show me a house. But if you look at the data now, sellers have figured out they're going to pick the right agent to sell their property. They're focused on that. So the separation first is obviously need to sell houses. I'm running a business. This is my livelihood. That's number 1. Number 2, probably the harder one for people. With real producers, I know with my business, every agent watching knows, if you can build a moat around your business, this sort of impenetrable moat around your business, you've done something that very few companies ever had. You can look at, Amazon is a perfect example. Like they control the online marketing, online buying, online, distribution space, right? They built that moat over the past 25 years. So it's going to be pretty hard to disrupt them. But if you take almost every major real estate brand today, every one of them is disruptible. If you
Mm-hmm.
take almost every CRM company today, almost every one of them is disruptible. And if I was watching this right now and you're like, all right, coach, just tell me the punchline. The thing that I would tell you is the only moat that I've discovered for someone like myself, because man, there's a lot of flavors. Everybody's a coach now, right? There's a lot of flavors. It's going to be this. It's going to be your brand. So if I was watching this today and I was committed to being in the business for the next 3, 5, 6, 7 years, I could break down the 5 things I want you to do to completely amplify your brand. But your brand becomes the only moat you have. And every agent knows this. And I say this with nothing but respect. An agent moves from this company to this company. For the most part, the consumers don't care.
Mm-hmm.
The consumers don't care. And every broker owner I talk to gets mad. The CEO of Home Services, my personal client, gets mad. I talked to Rob Refkin for an hour last night from Compass. He gets mad. But we're all friends. We all get the game. Consumers pick agents,
Right.
right? So the more an agent can amplify their brand and separate themselves, or as Rory might say, become the market of one, right? Remington is the most well-known guy. Sure, I'm going to talk to my sister Sarah, but Remington sells all the homes in my area. That's number 2. Number 3 would be any agent that's serious is going to create a wow experience for every customer, right? The consumer deserves a better experience. I mean, like it or not, the portals do a pretty good job making sure search is okay. My buddies over at F&F and Stewart Title and all the closing insurance and all the attorneys, it may feel like the DMV, but the transaction gets closed. The unreliable part is the cream of the crop make this incredible experience, this memorable experience for the consumer, and everybody else shows up with 5 pieces of paper stapled and said, let's go look at some houses. So whether it's your onboarding, your communication, or my goodness, the most important one, your post-transaction close, what's your communication experience like? Do you have a list of past clients, or do you have homes under management and you're managing $300 or $400 million in assets, understanding that 3 to 4% of them, maybe 5 or 6, depending upon your market, will sell every single year, and you're managing it that way. Like the text that I just got from my guy Keith, who said, "Hey, do you want to invest in Neuralink?" And I just text back and said, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Past client, I'm an asset under management with him. He manages part of my assets. Does that make sense? Like I think we have to start looking at the business differently. So very quickly, 4, 5, and 6 are easy. Systems over memory. Systems over memory. A system will produce what a system will produce, nothing more, nothing less. So every agent watching, you have a system for everything you do. The question is the system getting you the results that you want, or is it time to refine and improve the system using AI or others, a checklist, so you're not running your business like this? Come on, 7. Do you know what I mean? Like this is a serious business with serious amounts of money to be made. And then obviously skills over winging it. That should be obvious. And then 7 is a marketing flywheel, or excuse me, 6 is a marketing flywheel. Now I know that's a lot. And you and I could probably spend an hour unpacking, Remington, each one of those. But if you said to me, what do you look for? What do you look for when you're examining, like the gentleman that just, I can't say his name, he just texted me and said, hey, can you and I work on something for, the next 4 or 5 months? I've got this problem. I said, well, do you have these 6 things in place already? Because if you don't have those things in place, you don't want to hire me. I'm too expensive. Have one of my other coaches work with you. Let's get those things in place, and then let's go work on that. Does that make sense? Because if you don't have those 6, you're just too susceptible to the 10-year, and suddenly you're out of the game, or tariffs and you're out of the game.
So that's interesting. I want to focus back on number 2 for a second. Then I have questions about the makeup and why people fail. The second one you were mentioned, like you said, brokerage brands. You talk about Robert Refkin, having a conversation with them, and brokerages, Compass, EXP, they all want you to say, no, there is a power to the brand, and consumers care about that. What I do think is interesting, though, is that you attract people like you. So you shouldn't be upset that Tom Ferry says it doesn't matter. If you're attracting the right people, then it will reflect correctly on the brand itself. So that's the first thing I would say is, like, if I'm Compass, I'm attracting all the right people.
Yeah, I want to clarify. The agents really care about the brand,
True.
the brand that they associate with.
Right.
The consumers, when you look at the data, they're picking agents based on track record, likability, response time.
Yeah.
And in some cases, they will say, hey, I want to go with you because your listing can get greater exposure, et cetera. But so I want to be clear. The
Yeah.
brands matter. The
Right.
brands
Yeah.
matter
But it matters to the
more
real.
to the agents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you gave us 6 really good points on the makeup of the top producers. Why do people fail? Because if I take these notes and I'm Remington with Remax, and I want to
Yeah.
apply all the principles I just heard from this webinar from Tom Ferry. So I write down the 6 things, and I get back on track. I've now got the core. This is the makeup.
Yeah.
Where do I fail along the way? Where's that 80, that 90% that sell that one or less home a year? Where are we failing?
So I think it's the wrong question. I don't think people are failing. I think people do exactly what they have to do to have the life that they have.
Mm.
So some people never have money, right? Some people just will never have money because they make $1 and they spend $1.25, right? That's not something I'm going to fix. You're going to fix. A coach is going to fix. A trainee is going to fix. It's something deeper psychologically that they have to address. So if there's a reason why maybe people don't follow through, why people say one thing and do another, that's going to be more their psychology, right? The way that they're wired. And now the good news is all of that can be adjusted. You could read more books, you could listen to audios, you could hire a therapist, you can have somebody trance you out. My goodness, I'm going to invest in Neuralink as soon as I'm done here. And wouldn't it be nice to just put a chip into my head and now all of a sudden all of the world's information is instantly accessible? Like, we're going that direction. So I guess if I had to summarize it, I'd say people don't really fail. On the flip side, one thing you know and I know is action solves everything. And most people are 6 moves from death and dying in every suggestion they hear. So if I said to you, hey, Remington, just as an example, I'll make something up. Hey, Remington, you know what you should do? You should text this to 30 of your past clients. And they're like, oh my God, if I text it to 30 of my past clients, some of them aren't going to be, they're going to think I'm desperate for business, right? Some of them are going to reject me. If they reject me, I'm not going to feel good. If I don't feel good, I'm not going to perform well. If I don't perform well, I'm not going to make any money. If I don't make any money, I'm going to die. And all I said was, hey, you know what you should do? You should text this to 30 past clients. People's heads are a scary place to be. It's, if there was a 7th thing, I would say it's mental toughness.
Yeah.
But it's implied when you look at the 6 things, it's implied you have to have like that desire that like, I need to do this. I want to do this. And I've got, the 3 great beliefs that every mega agent has, which is there's more than enough transactions. I'm capable and it'll be worth the effort.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have those 3 beliefs in place, you're unstoppable. You're going to kick ass, whether it takes you, 18 days, 18 months, or 18 years, you will make it happen. So I don't know. I don't get into the failure stuff. I think
that's
interesting. They're doing the best they can with what they got.
I was writing a message on success, and I asked all my most successful friends, whatever that means, if they had to wrap up success in a word, what that word would be. And I got back a lot of ambition, your why, grit. And the one that I really thought like went above and beyond all of those words was discipline, especially like if motivation is your word, like for me, motivation is trumped by discipline because there's days I don't feel motivated to do the thing.
Yeah.
And discipline in itself is something that a lot of people are like, you can't teach discipline, but I think you can. And I just don't know. I mean, you've got a lot of books sitting next to you.
Yeah.
Like if you're talking about the makeup of top people, like at the core, they're disciplined to do those 6 things over and over. You mentioned action solves everything is what you said.
I would tell you, I would say, there's no doubt discipline, but I know some pretty undisciplined people that do really well. If you look at every one of those books is essentially a system. And what I know to be true, my mentor, Jay Abraham, who worked directly under his mentor, a guy named Dr. Edward Deming Jr., famously said, a system will produce what a system will produce, nothing more, nothing less. So I don't think it's discipline. I actually think it's put the right system in place. And Deming, who is he is the god of all things system, manufacturing, process, not a lot of excitement. Most people don't like to talk about it, but it's how you remove the Remington, I'm poor, I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm rich. The answer is it's through systems. And Deming said something to the effect, and I'll probably, butcher this a little bit. He said, even a lousy system will outperform a great employee. Even a
Hmm.
lousy system will outperform a great employee. So I would challenge everybody to really look at, of the 14 most important systems in your business, what needs refinement? What needs improvement? Where can I make the system perform better? And by the way, Remington, you and I both know this, man. You're a business owner, I'm a business owner. I don't want systems. I want what systems do for me.
Hmm.
Systems make income more reliable. Systems give me peace of mind at night. Systems give me more time back, right? Time to scale or time to play golf on Friday,
Hmm.
right? So I don't want systems. I just went through new Salesforce, changed my financial software, changed my phone system, switched my coaching platform from a Loom to my new one, Revy, that we own, and I'm missing one. We did like 5 major systems in one Monday. Was it chaotic? Sure, but it's the J curve. I'm here. I want to go there, right? It's going to be the systems that will get there. The systems will help me grow the business and become more reliable, not having to rely on my grittiness or discipline. Does that make sense?
That's interesting. I mean, it's an interesting pushback. I definitely subscribe to what you're saying because you're right. I have seen people like if you think about the makeup of a top person, they're not all in shape and good at everything. Like
No.
some of us are just good at building. So I guess you got to redefine what success is. If you're talking about success in the business, can you apply the systems to every part of your life though? Like, for instance, let's just talk about getting in shape. Like the makeup of successful people,
Yeah.
just a generalizing statement would care about their health and wellness. But
Yes.
applying what you said, you can't really systematize working out. You actually have to do the thing. So what would you say to that?
Well, so I would say to you, think systems and think structure. So I have a trainer in Newport Beach where I live. I have a trainer in Dallas, and a guy that comes with me on the road. And the
Mm.
guy that comes with me on the road at 5 o'clock in the morning knocks on my bedroom door, in the hotel, and he's already been to the gym.
Yeah.
You with me? And
Yeah.
and it didn't matter that we were in St. Louis one day and the next day we were in, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So part of the system is like having him in place.
Yeah. I love that.
You know what I mean? It, the mistake that we make in business, we want to create this world-class experience for clients. And if you document what it is that you do that works, it's almost like this book here. You got the $1 billion playbook for your business. If I don't have to think about it, there's a system in place. If I don't have to think about it and the knock is at my door, you with me? Back on that point, I don't order food. My assistant takes care of everything for me.
Mm.
At 7 o'clock in the morning, before my first meeting at 8 o'clock, when I'm on the road doing a seminar, food shows up. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to order.
Mm.
It's all just done. It's a system, right? So I think actually you can.
Yeah.
Now, should I systemize my date nights or should I have some flexibility and fun? I've been married for 31 years. I can tell you what the answer is,
Yeah.
right? Do I have a system and checklist for opening up Christmas gifts on Christmas morning? No, we kind of let that go with the flow. But the stuff that really matters in my life, investing, time with my family, right? Time with my friends, improving my golf game, running my business, taking care of my clients, making sure my employees, like all that, I need a system.
Hmm. I love that answer. That's great. And I saw a couple of comments like systems are unemotional because sometimes emotions
Yes.
get in the middle of all these things that we're talking about. Emotions.
Bobby knows it.
Yeah,
The,
I love
the
it.
system doesn't care how you feel. You with me? And the faster we can get into that mindset, the better. It doesn't matter how you feel.
Mm.
Follow the checklist. Like I don't want a pilot that says, "Oh, I don't feel like following the checklist today."
Yeah.
I want off that plane immediately.
I love it. I have been I've been an advocate for it doesn't matter what's going on in the market, doesn't matter what's going on in your territory. What are you doing and how hard are you working to make the
Right.
business go? It's what we've been
Yeah.
talking about for the entire first half of this webinar. Now,
Yeah.
for the second half, I'd like to shift gears and actually talk about the Tom Ferry crystal ball. And you might push back on
Oh.
this question in general because most
Yeah.
people do. But
Yeah.
you got your Tom Ferry crystal ball. What
Yeah.
happens the next couple of years in real estate, and how do we respond to it?
So let me give you a couple names that everybody should pay attention to. Remington, like you, I read a lot, I study a lot, I go to a lot of events, I'm coached by 7 different people. I am synthesizing information. You with me? So the thing I would tell you first and foremost is if you're not studying Dr. Peter Diamandis, I would start there. I'm a member of Abundance 360. It's a super sexy 3-day conference done primarily in LA. Remington, to give you context, the first time I was there, I looked over and I'm like, that's Elon. And those are the Google guys. And I don't know what imposter syndrome feels like until that moment. I was like, how am I even in this room? You with me? Tony Robbins hologrammed in one day and we debated all these different issues. I mean, it's a very cool experience, but Peter spends a lot of time thinking about where's the world going and how do we stay ahead of the curve in longevity, in robotics, in AI, and he just exposes you to more. So that's one. The other one I would tell you to think about is Faith Popcorn. Faith Popcorn wrote a book called The Popcorn Report. I want to say it was published in like maybe 89, 90, 91, something like that. And she said in 89, 90, 91, you ready? In the next 20 years, we will never leave our houses. We will push buttons and food will show up. We will live in front of our screens with unlimited opportunity. She was talking about that in 1989, 1990, 1991. She runs at about 90% accuracy in terms of what's going to happen. Right now, she's now republished a whole new list that takes us out to like 2035. And I would say, everybody, I would look at Diamandis, right? Talking about, where he believes the world's going. He thinks we're all going to live to be 150 years old. So you better take care of your brain. You better take care of your physical body, right? Abundance is a wonderful book, Bobby. And all of his books are fantastic. And then I would look at Faith Popcorn. And then what I would tell you is, if you ask me what's going to happen in the next 5 years, there will be just as many real estate agents. There will be just as many that don't sell houses. You with me on this? Teams will take over the world. Brokerages margins will continue to thin, right? But that's like, you don't need a zeitgeist to figure that one out, right? They will continue to innovate and I can't say the names, but one of the biggest independent real estate companies I'm talking to on Thursday, because they are actually trying to figure out, one of my philosophies is, if you offer more, can you charge more? If you offer more, can you charge more? Or at least if you offer more, can you charge what you're accustomed to? You with me on this? Just a repackaging. So you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see.
Do you think that's going away altogether? Because I had a couple appointments before this with specifically higher ups in mortgage companies.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, it seems like a conflict of interest for any brokerage who's trying to own a title company, own a mortgage company, but also ask all the other mortgage companies to fund their events. But they almost feel like they have to do it because the margins as a broker owner are so thin. I mean, I said, what question have I not thought of to ask Tom yet? He said, is the real estate agent a dying breed? And I've heard that from others. And I just feel like, is the sky falling or is the sky changing?
I get that question all the time because I talk to a lot of, hedge funds, private equity groups. We invest in a lot of different companies. So you get exposed to some pretty neat people. And they all say the same thing. Ferry, the last 20 years, prop tech and housing has been just been mayhem. We've thrown billions of dollars at it. We've got a few returns, but we think it's mostly over. And now with the NAR ruling and AI and everything else, our agent's dead. And so I look them right in the eye and I say, until every house in the world is exactly the same, you will need a human to help you understand it all. And they just look at me and I'm like, have you bought a house recently? Yeah. Did you use a human or did you have like your attorney write it up for you? And they're like, well, I used a human. Exactly. And don't you think most first-time buyers, this unbelievable wave of 76 million people in the US that are coming in, and the group that's even bigger, the silver tsunamis, the 6% of the 87 million people that own a house in many cases have no mortgage, you don't think they're going to use agents? Of course they are, right? So I don't see that happening. I think what's going to happen is consumers are going to demand a better quality experience. Consumers are going to demand a more reliable experience. If I do something once every 10 years, at a certain point, I'm going to say there's just got to be a better way. And obviously, like a lot of friends went into the iBuyer business. I don't think that was the way, right? I do think people want a better quality experience, a more reliable experience. And I think the agent that puts all their concentration, the brokerage that puts all their concentration on, how do we surprise and delight the client? How do we do something that is so unique, so different, so special, or heaven forbid, Remy, to just have it be great every time? Like, I'm not a fan of fast food, but like McDonald's, the two pickles, then the mustard, then the ketchup, then the bun every single time. That's the system. Like, what would a world look like of real estate practitioners inside of a brokerage company where we all followed a methodology, kind of like you can't have a rogue person on a football team. You
Mhm.
with me? Everybody
Yeah.
needs to run the same play together or we become a little dysfunctional. I think it's going to go towards that. Obviously, AI is going to have a huge impact. I hope within 5 to 7 years, every agent watching has a robot. I'm an investor in Grok and AI and Starlink and every other company that Elon gets a part of. Like I will put $1 into because I just believe in what he's doing. Some people don't like him because of the politics. I don't care,
Mm.
right? I like what he's up to. I think he's a pretty creative guy. I think there's going to be a place in the next 5 to 7 years where my robot will at least drive me if my car doesn't. I think the robot could be meeting me and greeting me at the open houses. And I think all that sounds pretty damn exciting.
Mm.
But I think at the center, you're always going to need that great AI, that great agent with AI, whether it's in their head, on their phone, on an app, on a button, on their glasses, to create a more reliable experience.
Well,
That's my bet.
let me piece together a few things you said because you think teams are
Yeah.
going to take over. Brokerage margins are becoming thinner and thinner. There's acquisitions happening. So if we put all that together,
Yeah.
are we going to see a world in which agents are now going to be W-2s? Are we really the only one at the top is going to be making the big bucks, or is that again the sky is falling mentality? I mean, should agents start side hustles just like the broker owners do? If they're owning title companies and mortgage companies and everything under the sun to create more margin, if I'm a top agent in the next 10 years, should I be thinking about all the supporting side hustle businesses to support my real estate business, or should I just grind on selling houses?
A bunch of people are going to hate my answer. So I'll give it to you in the same perspective of my friend Rory Vaden. He calls it Sheehan's Wall. And Sheehan's Wall is this sort of imaginary wall between people that are unknown and people that are known. And if you are sitting on the unknown side, meaning you're not selling 400, 500, 1,000 transactions a year, your phone isn't just ringing off the hook with past clients and Sphere and referrals and people calling you for free off your Google page and for free off your content. If you're not that well known, the audacity to think you can now take a smaller number of transactions and push them into another one of these services, to me, is ridiculous.
Mm.
Right? We need to focus. Look at, I'm a business guy. I look every single day. What is the total addressable market? Right? How many people can I serve in the United States? How many people can I serve in Canada? How many people can I serve in Mexico? Should I open up an office in Sydney, Australia, and work the entire, sort of New Zealand all the way up to Asia? If I just lived in Switzerland with my dear buddy who has almost 40,000 agents now, as long as I'm willing to have an interpreter do this, I can speak every single day in Europe. The problem is people don't look at the addressable market. They spend so much time isolated myopically on their database, and the last person they talked to who said wasn't going to move because of the tariffs or whatever it may be, and they make a decision, therefore it is. Like the silver tsunami. The studies show that 6% of people above age 60, more today in the United States than we will ever see. Next year, it'll be more 61-year-olds, and hopefully that trend will continue. They'll live a long time. But here's the thing I tell everybody. There's a pretty good chance that their agent is dead. They're 75. Their agent is retired or gone, right? So they're sitting there and maybe they meet pickleball Julie on the pickleball court. Or maybe you say, before I try and make a little bit of money here and there, why don't I optimize the shit out of this? Like, that's what I don't understand. Why so many people well, I'm not making a lot of money in my real estate business. So what I'm going to now try and do is not make a lot of money in all these other businesses, completely dilute all of my focus and energy. And I just don't see it working. I just don't see it working. I'm not saying that there isn't people out there my buddy Bill Ravis has a wonderful company in the Northeast, right, all the way down to Florida, mortgage, title, insurance, real estate. But he's been doing it for 45 years.
Yeah.
And he has broken through Sheehan's Wall, and he did that 30 years ago. You with me? Then it makes sense. Compass, it makes sense. Coldwell Banker, NRT, Home Services, it makes sense. But sometimes for a team to do it, if they're struggling to sell a couple hundred transactions a year or worse, they're arbitraging it through Zillow and Realtor. So it's not really their marketing flywheel, it's something else. That's when I'm like, man.
You mentioned Silver Tsunami of Seniors, which is actually the title of a book. And just a quick plug for RP Elevate. We have a whole discussion around downsizing at RP Elevate.
Smart.
Residential assisted living. Bobby and I both looked at that personally. Very interesting topic. Very cool to be able to provide that for your own family. But just the real estate side of that, the investing side of that, and then downsizing. We have a downsizing specialist, Kathy Cairo from Columbus, who's built her whole business around these events. So check that out, rplevate.com. Tom, I can't remember if I put this in the questions I originally sent you, but I am at the end going to ask you what you're reading or what we should read. So be ready for that.
Yeah.
Before we get to that,
I have to go to my phone to start pulling up all my books.
Yeah, there you go. You listen to it mostly?
Yeah.
So vendors, how do we get the business of top agents? This is basically what Real Producers has built our business model around, is connecting businesses with the top agents in the market. But from a perspective as a top coach, so you have a unique perspective in that you're talking to constant agents yourself, but you're actually doing the thing. You're technically a vendor, So how are you coaching other realtors and vendors to approach that relationship? If I'm a vendor, how do I get the eyes and ears of the top realtors?
So I happened to, was hired about almost 2 years ago to coach and train exclusively all of the title execs from F&F, right? The Fidelity Financial Services, right? The parent company of Fidelity, Chicago lawyers, and like 50 different brands. And what I tell people is it's a multifaceted thing. Number one, you got to create content so people know who you are, what you stand for. You got to create content so people understand who you are and what you stand for. You got to answer the questions that are on the minds of those people every single day inside your content. So you and I both know you go to answerthepublic.com and you do a little search query, and it gives you every question that agents are asking, loan officers are asking, title execs are answering, consumers are asking. And then you take the headline, you put it inside your favorite AI writing tool, ChatGPT, Revy, Grok, whatever it may be, and it writes your blog for you. You then read the blog, make your adjustments, and you start posting that everywhere. If you're next level, you go to HeyGen, right, the AI tool, and you've already done one video to get the avatar version of yourself, and you upload the script, and now you got a video version of it. So the first thing is you've got to start creating content that is meaningful to the people you want to attract. And you have to be comfortable with the fact that you might only get 200 views, 300 views, 500 views, 1,000 views. Every now and then you get lucky and you get 10,000 or 100,000 or whatever it may be. But understand what you're doing is you're creating your own community. You're creating is essentially your following. So as long as I'm providing the value, the things that are interesting to them, they're going to be more open and receptive that when I actually have an offer and say, would you like to join me? Are you interested in hearing about our title program? Do you want to know more about our mortgage solutions? At least then I'm like, yeah, Remington's kind of my guy. I like what he's all about. Let's go. I think it all starts right there. And then what I tell people is number two, you got to create more marketable moments. So when I'm talking, whether it's I work with a lot of major mortgage companies. You guys know a bunch of them. So many of them have been in the industry as long as I have. I'm actually looking at my very gray beard here, starting to think, my hair, my goodness, I'm only 54 years old. But think about it like this. If you create marketable moments, and whether that is an open house for an agent or it is doing an event where you invite a bunch of agents, a mastermind, a top agent mastermind, which they all love, the money is in three parts. It's in the invitation, it's in what you do at the event, and it's what you do in terms of your follow-up, right? So there's all these obvious plays that people can run. Here's the mistake I see, Remington, when someone calls me and says, hey, our mortgage company's down this year, and we're trying to figure out now what we can do with agents. And I'm like, here is a play. If we run it once, you're going to see success. You might see a 8 to 10% lift out of the gate in mortgage applications with your firm. But if you do it over time, you'll get a 20 to 30% lift. And what happens is they run the play once, they get a good result, and then they go, okay, what do you want to do next? And I'm like, no, we're going to run that. It's like in the NBA, right? Like I'm a huge Lakers fan. Like, not so much. I mean, I love Luka. I'm super excited he's there, and that's going to piss somebody off. But like, when Kobe and Shaq were together, or when Cap and Magic were together, there was a play that you could run that was just simply unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
And if Kobe or D Fish would just keep throwing the ball into Shaq, if he was inside, he was going to dunk or he was going to get an easy layup. The mistake that I see people making is you run a play that works and then you stop doing it.
Yeah.
So if I was a vendor, and I never call them vendor, they're my partners, right? Like we're all in the business of helping agents sell more houses and attracting more agents that sell more houses. I think for the agent watching is, what are the plays that you do that work? Run them until the market or defense stops you. And if you can get really good at doing the boring, mundane things that work over and over and over and over, you wake up one day and you're worth a lot of money and you've helped a lot of people.
Not only that, you mentioned the team analogy, like some of the top podcasts I've had on with the top realtors in the country. When I asked them a similar question to this, they approach the vendors or the partners like they are literally on their team. So if I said, hey, how are you scaling your team?
Yes.
They're not just thinking about how to get more buyer's agents and how to get more admin or, whatever. They're also thinking, I need to get my paint guy. I need to get my mortgage guy. They are also on my team because I am a package that delivers the best quality. And so I love that answer.
Right.
With the team analogy.
And you and I both know there is no such thing as a solo agent in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, my goodness, right? Title, escrow, mortgage, attorney, depending on what state you're in, right? Closing attorneys, et cetera. And then everybody that's a part of the transaction. I was with a buddy of mine a couple of days ago who lives in my building, and he's just a bazillionaire, but just a super fun, like 75-year-old guy to hang out with. And we were chatting about, he said, the problem with the real estate market right now, and I'm like, oh God, here we go. But he actually had the right answer. He goes, it's what doesn't happen because we're only selling 4.1, call it 4.7 with new construction in the US, because we're only selling that many houses. Now we have less $87,000 in other money that gets spent when somebody buys a home. That's also impacting our economy. Interesting way to look at it. So to your point, nobody does it alone. And we've got all these people that are associated with the transaction. We should have been embracing all of them and treating them as our partners, not as the hero and the minion, get me more notepads, hurry up and get this person pre-qualified. But we're business partners.
Yeah.
Right? You provide a great level of service. I provide a great level of service. Together, we make a more reliable experience for the customer. That's all that matters.
Man, what goes around comes around too. I remember being on the closing gift side trying to sell some knives to realtors, and they would not return my call for the life of me. And now they wish they did because I'm running a magazine where they could be on the cover of it. And I didn't hold that against anybody, but you just never know who's going to become what. Like, I guarantee what you said is going to convict somebody, be like, I need to call back that plumber, because honestly, if I was in his shoes, I would want the call back. And I don't know what I'm going to need in the future. I might need to get a listing up, and the plumbing issue is the one thing holding me back. I just think so few of us think in our little bubble too much, even the top people in every industry. All right. Well, before I ask you the reading question, which I'm always jacked to talk about books and what we're digesting, you've helped thousands of agents scale, as we said at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
And growth is the topic of every conversation when it comes to business. Growth. How do you personally define enough?
Enough of what?
I think when we look at, I know you have to define success. Maybe we start there, but if you define success, a lot of people define it as a number. You're looking for the dollar. And I always coach our franchisees and anyone I've ever talked to that if you don't have a reason for the next dollar, there's not going to be a point to make the next dollar. You're going to get there, and it's never going to be enough. So if you're thinking about success, scaling, if I'm trying to grow my business to 100 million and I get there, I'm like, it's not doing it for me. Now I go, okay, well, what is my next goal? I guess as you're setting goals and coaching your people, how do you let them know they've arrived, or does that matter?
The older I get, the more mature I get. My dad's 80. My mom just turned 80. My client Maxine is 87. You start to realize like how few summers you actually have less. And I hope it helps people maybe reshift their focus on what truly matters. So interestingly enough, Sahil Bloom is someone I'm getting to know. He's one of the books that I'm reading right now, or listening to. The book is called something like The 5 Types of Wealth. The 5 Types of Wealth. Let me pull it up because I think it
5 types
very
of wealth.
much resonates. And I know why my buddy like pinged me and said, dude, you need to read this book because this is like, like I feel like I'm talking to you right now. Here's the 5 types of wealth: time, social, mental, physical, financial. I think a wealthy person, a successful person, has the ability to do the things that they want to do when they want to do it.
Hmm.
Time. You with me? I work my face off and I go out on the road and I do all these tours, but I love it. Like Remington, it's my happy place. But when I'm not doing that, I'm not doing 15-hour days anymore, right? Because I've bought freedom through hiring exceptional people inside my business who have something to prove, who are highly competitive, who are aligned with me on values. Like, we are in the business of helping our clients sell more houses and have a better quality life. And we're in the business of attracting agents just like that. Like, that's why we exist. That's what we do. So I think for me now, it's time. It's time with my family. It's watching my 2 boys, who one's now selling houses in Hoboken, New Jersey, who, Remington, he would only call for money. Now he calls like, I'm sitting at an open house and there's nobody here for the last 30 minutes. What should I be doing right now? And I'm like, well, first of all, it's what you should have been doing before the open house.
Right.
But maybe now go to follow up boss. Let's make some calls. Like, he and I will prospect together. It's super fun. I think it's about like watching my kids. Like, that's success.
Yeah.
You with me? And if you don't have kids, like, whatever, kids, your puppy, your church, the things that you're passionate about. Like, I don't know if I'm answering the question, but the answer is, from a competitive side, there's never enough.
Mhm.
You with me? There's always a consumer that gets burned that a better real estate professional should have helped, right? There's always an agent. I have like an enormous capacity to care, which is a gift and a curse. So like, I think I probably have, I don't know, 40 or 50,000 agents have my cell phone. And I average about, I don't know, 11, 1,200 text messages a day. And they're not always like this, like, hey, just checking in. They're like, hey, I just lost the biggest deal of my life and my assistant is sleeping with my husband. What the hell do I do?
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like, I get those, like I mashed a bunch into it, but like I get those kind of text messages.
Hmm.
So I think success and enough is also like, how many people will be at your funeral? How
Mhm.
many people did you touch? I think of a buddy of mine, Ron, who's a great Remax agent in Chicago, like in the suburbs. When his dad died, there was like 1,500 people at the funeral.
Hmm.
And as those people showed up and they were shaking his hand and he did his eulogy and everybody was in tears, he said at the aftermath, when people were walking up and shaking my hand and giving my sister and I a hug, he said, not one person said, your dad was the #1 life insurance salesperson in the state of Illinois for 35 years. They all said, your dad was my mentor. Your dad was the guy that I called when my relationship was in trouble. Your dad was that, like, he was that guy.
Mhm.
And I think on our deathbed, that's what's going to matter most. Have you read the book Die with Zero yet?
Mm.
Oh man, you got to get that one too.
Die
Die
with
with
Zero.
Zero. I mean, everyone out there
I have
watching,
heard of that
Die
one,
with
yeah.
Zero. You get the concept,
Yeah.
right? Like, what do we all want on our deathbed? More shekels or more memories?
Mhm.
We're all going to want more experiences and memories. So I think success is like life on your terms, willing to do the stuff that nobody else is willing to do at the times of the day when I'm supposed to do it, when most people are trying to figure out what they're going to have for lunch. And I do that stuff like with inspired action, a lot of days and a lot of weeks and a lot of months and a lot of years and then a couple decades in a row.
Yeah.
And you get options. Does that make sense?
It does. And Tom, I want to give you your flowers because I've been following you for a while. Like most people, you're in the public eye. I would tell you that everything you're saying about being intentional about crafting your life, you do. I watch it. And so we're working on this RP Elevate. It's like the Super Bowl of our events coming up in September. Kelsey and I have agreed that anytime we have that massive an event, we're taking a week off and going somewhere afterwards. And I watched you and your wife. You guys were in Santorini. You were in the Greek Isles like within a couple weeks of us. And I'm watching you. I think you do the same thing. Like when you have an event, you like shut it down the next week, but you enjoy doing the event and you enjoy shutting it down. And you've crafted it that way.
Yes, 100%. And I do 3 big events a year, so you can figure out the math on vacations.
A lot of vacations.
Yeah. My wife's like, okay. But like, but you and I both know everyone out there watching, when you do an event, the amount of stress and tension that you experience, your team experiences, because you're trying to make this unbelievable thing for people, right? You every detail, the way the lighting is, the way the music is, how this person gets introduced, the aha moments, where the breakthroughs are, like everything's got to be right. So it's stressful, and I've been doing it for 35 years, and it's still it's eustress for me now. It's not stress. It's positive stress.
Mhm.
You positive to make it right. You do the same thing. I say after that, go someplace for 3 or 4 days,
Yeah.
unplug, digest what you did, celebrate what you did, learn from the mistakes, and then get back after it.
I love it. We're running out of time here, and I want to get people out on time. But rapid fire, you chose those books to be on your desk in front of thousands and tens of thousands of people. Why are those the books that you chose?
Okay. Sean is a brilliant author, a great human being, right here, Dallas guy. This is just a reminder of if I call somebody every day and say to them, let me tell you why you matter to me and who you are for me. Not only does it make you feel better, it makes them feel great. And we all know there's a direct correlation to how you feel and how you perform. So that's one of my little
A
hacks from
happiness
Sean.
advantage is what he's holding up. The happiness
Yep,
advantage.
happiness advantage. My buddy Tiffany Bova, she worked at Salesforce forever. I've known this woman for like 25 years, long before she was at Salesforce. She is one of the best, I would call like sales performance enhancers, mainly in the software service business. Like that's her expertise. Totally love it. You probably know this guy. He's one of my longest mentors, Jay Abraham. He and I are now friends of, call it 35 years. This is, I think, the best book he ever wrote that didn't cost me $5,000 to buy because I buy his books that are $5,000 or 25,000. This one is unbelievable. And again, like he's got a lot to say. This one was okay, right? This one isn't. No, it's okay. Like because this is,
Yeah.
measure what
12
matters.
year. Yeah, that's going
You know what I
around.
mean? Like, it's a killer book. These guys are awesome, right? But there's like 15 books that are written about the same subject.
Yeah.
This one is bananas.
The
It's my
sales
buddy Mark
acceleration
Roberge.
formula.
So Mark wrote this book as kind of a calling card after he and his three friends started a little company called HubSpot.
Mm.
It went from zero to like $1 billion in revenue in 18 months. He's the most engineer nerdy out of the four guys, but one had already taken CEO, one had already taken CTO, one had already taken like something else. Like, hey, Mark, why don't you do sales? And he took a totally analytical approach to the sales process, and it's brilliant. My man, Dr. Peter Diamandis, if you want to be exponential, if you want to be way ahead of where the puck's going to be, sitting there waiting, smoking a cigar, and then make the shot, you got to read that book. Every CEO's got to read this book. But this one could be the best book I've read in the last decade.
How to Make a Few $1 billion. Brad Jacobs.
And as soon as you drive around and you start looking around at big moving trucks that say XPO, that is one of 8 companies that he's created a $1 billion trigger from. And he says, it's the only book I'm going to write because I only know how to do one thing, which is roll up businesses and extract immense amounts of profit from it. He's bought 550 companies. He's raised $30 billion over his time. His last one, just listening to an interview with him, he goes, so my wife and I started the last one. She put in $1 billion, I put in $1 billion, and now we're going to go, roll up this other cottage industry. And everybody in real estate should understand that because that's exactly what happened in real estate.
Yeah.
Cottage industry, mom and pops, all rolled up. Same thing in mortgage. Same thing that F&F did by buying every title company. But it's the playbook, Remington. It's literally the freaking blueprint of how to run your team to be effective and how to buy companies, and how to create synergies, how to reduce all the costs and drive the profits up and reward your shareholders. It's a phenomenal book, but I don't know. I get excited.
I love it. Tom, phenomenal guest. Knew you'd bring the thunder. You're going to bring the thunder again in September 29th in Dallas, your hometown. What can you give us a little commercial or a little sneak peek of what you're going to be talking about on stage?
I think it's going to be, again, the zeitgeist could change between now and then, but I'm going to guess it's either going to be, here's the best 15 campaigns to attract more sellers, or here are the 14 systems you need to put in place. It's going to be one of those two things because for high producing agents, those are the only two things that matter right now. How do I get more listings? right? We can do a whole subject around what are the 6 alternatives to just getting a price reduction to get your listing sold. I'm going to do a live show in a couple of days. Look out for that. Myself and David Childers from KCM are talking about, getting listings sold. But over here, it's going to be systems. And what you and I both know, Remington, if we bring them a combination of systems and better marketing, everybody's going to do better the last part of the year, and they're going to crush going into 2025 because a system will produce what a system will produce. Nothing more, nothing less.
Fantastic. Where can we find you before you sign off?
I would say hit me up on Instagram, right? At Tom Ferry on Instagram. Send me a message there. I do respond. You'll see it's a lot of emojis, the poop, all that. I answer a lot of questions there. Probably, I don't know, 500 or 600 questions every week on Instagram. So if you want to connect with me there. Bobby, good to see you, my man.
Tom, good to see you too. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I always wonder this because you're human. The first question I had was, how many hours of sleep does this guy get a night? I guess my general question is where would you say in your life you are lacking most right now?
I do a lot of crazy stuff. So first of all, I have been tracking my sleep on the Sleep Cycle app for, it looks like 14.7 years. So I'm obsessed with trying to get to 8 hours. I probably average about 7.5. And sleep is the only thing we know that basically, if you look at your DNA, you watch your parents and grandparents shrink. It's because their DNA is shrinking. The only way to stop the shrinking is to sleep 8 hours, right? To allow your body to rest, to get into 2 to 3 deep REMs. Like, I also use the 8 Sleep mattress, and that is phenomenal. Not an investor in that company, but if you can get me in, let me know. I do know the CEO. I missed on the last round. So I do a lot of that stuff. And then, Bobby, honestly, I have this wonderful coach, and her name is Dr. Julie Garner. If you're on X and you don't follow her, you're making a giant mistake. If you're on Substack, she is worth it to read every blog that she writes. I'm probably the least commercially successful person that she coaches. It took me 18 months to get her to say yes. I had to come to her with a really big problem and a giant opportunity. And then she finally said, okay, I'll give you a shot. And 3 sessions into it, she stared at me. Did you ever see the television show Billions?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, if you know the show Billions out there, then you know Dr. Wendy Rhodes, the fictitious character with the dark hair who wore leather and beat her husband, and they were into that stuff. My coach, Dr. Julie Garner, the New York Times say she's the real Wendy Rhodes. Like, she's the real version of this person. So intense, so brilliant. She said to me, I think your goals are going to require a different version of you.
Good.
And then she shut up, Bobby, for 5 minutes. And I just sat there for 5 minutes. I paid her $2,000 a session. I was like, that was an expensive pause. But you know what? She was right. I stopped drinking, right? Which is, I was never like a rager, but like, I also own a tequila company, a bourbon company, and a cult wine business. So my partner was a little like, hello, right? Stopped drinking, took on transcendental meditation. Now meditate twice a day for 20 minutes. Do a little red light therapy when I'm, home and able to do that. Cutting out sugar. So I do a lot of stuff to try and stay mentally and emotionally right. I don't know. I'm sure there's something out there that I need to adjust. You know what my team would say? Ferry, you need to create more content.
We're helping you do that today.
Love it.
Yeah. So I don't know, but hey guys, I appreciate you. I know it was hard for us to make all this stuff work. But I'm really proud of you guys. Like, what you do makes a difference. You're recognizing the most talented people in the industry. They don't get enough recognition, right? For how much, like, it's nice that they're on the magazine cover. It's great that they're a part of these, but like, for what they actually do, like cleaning up the house that's a disaster, all the mundane tasks that they never get a review on Zillow or, on their Google page. For that, you guys are celebrating them as I am. So for that, I say, God bless you guys.
Tom, been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. We're going to put all your book recommendations in the podcast show notes. The podcast is where this is going to live forever, but we appreciate having you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the opportunity. I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, Tom.
That's been Tom Ferry. He was fantastic. Bobby, I want to hear your thoughts on it. Before we do that, real quick, and we got to do this in a minute so that we get people out of here on time, but we will put the show notes for the podcast. We have a top 5% global podcast. It's called the Real Producers Podcast. We are going to put this back on the show for an upcoming episode, so be looking for that. This will exist on LinkedIn for the next couple of weeks as well, as if you want to go back and take notes. Bobby, give me your one or two takeaways, and you were following the comments too, so I know there was a lot of takeaways from the crowd.
Yeah, I would do that all over again, like right now. That was awesome. I can't wait to hear from Tom live at RP Elevate. I wrote down 4 things that I need to actually journal about, not just things that I can take away, but things that I really like. I have thoughts, and I have thoughts that just don't exist right now. I need to look into it. That's how you know it was impactful for me, at least. One thing I wrote was even a lousy system will outperform an employee. I think that's really important. I wrote down a follow-up in my life. What needs a system, and what requires flexibility? There are many things that I require flexibility on that need a system in my life. So that requires a lot of deep thought and work for me. I loved his comment on creating marketable moments as an affiliate, trying to gain engagement and access in a relationship with a top agent. I think that's phenomenal. You can input that in many places in life. I need to write about that too. The third thing I wrote was there's no such thing as a solo agent. He said in 2025, I actually think there's never been such thing as a solo agent. Mm-hmm. And I need to put more thought into that as well. So those were my those are 4. Yeah, that was 4. I can count.
Like 3, but we'll just call it 4.
So even a lousy system will outperform an employee. And then what needs a system in my life? That was 1A.
Okay.
2, creating marketable moments. And 3, there's never been such a thing as a solo agent.
My biggest takeaway actually came at the end, because I think it encompasses everything he was talking about when it comes to the makeup of top producers. His own coach, a mentor of his own, challenged him and said, I think your goals are going to require a different version of you. He said at the very end.
That was powerful.
And I think that's powerful. I think if you look at everything we took notes on and learned, it's really easy to be the guy that says, who needs to hear this? Johnny. I'm going to send this to Johnny. And then you think to yourself, cool, Johnny needed this. And hardly ever are we like looking at ourselves and being like, you know what? Either my goals aren't high enough, or I haven't really figured out the way that I'm going to change to hit these. And everything is give and take. And if you've decided to say yes to something, you're now saying no to something. And what are those things? And are they prioritized right? That's all the time we have. If you want to join us and see, please email us. I'll tell you what, the best way to email us is either email your local publisher if you're a part of Real Producers in your local markets, or email podcast@realproducersmag.com to get on our distribution list. We'll be doing these webinars every couple of weeks leading up to RP Elevate. Coming again, rpelevate.com, coming in the fall, September 29th and 30th. We'll see you next time.